か? Bueno, Piñu. Bueno, Piñu. Bueno.
Thanks for joining me, my little friends. I'm here to talk about the Minions, the rise of Gru. There will be spoilers, so leave now. Good, first things first, let's get to the plot. It takes place in the 1970s, the rise of disco, and of course supervillains, which shows the first couple of characters and who are known the Vicious Six. Well, who's in the Vicious Six? There is Bellbottom, Jean-Claude, Sevenchance, I'm pretty sure I got that name wrong, Stronghold, Nunchucks, which is hilarious, and finally Wild Knuckles, who they betrayed before they stole the Zodiac Stone. And then finally, they showed the characters that we all know. A little 11-year-old named Gru and his minions who works for him as their new leader. Out of all the minions, there is 3 that stand out. Or should I have said 4. There is Kevin, who is pretty much the leader of the trio. Stuart, who is considered to be the slacker. Bob is more childish and shorter than most of the other minions. And finally, we got Otto. He's very chatty, easily distracted as well. So one day Gru receives an invitation from the Vicious Six to find a new member after Wild Knuckles supposedly died. So Gru accepts the invitation and goes to audition, which the audition turned out to be pretty poorly. They denied him. While they were distracted, Gru manages to steal the Zodiac Stone, which can turn anyone into animals. After escaping with Kevin, Stuart, and Bob, Gru finds out that Otto traded it for a pet rock. So Gru fires the minions in frustration and goes after the stone by himself. Not before Wild Knuckles appeared and kidnaps Gru and takes him to San Francisco. The 3 minions are trying to save Gru, which is Kevin, Stuart, and Bob, which failed, and they are being chased by Wild Knuckles' goons. And while they get beat up by the alley, and that's when Master Cho shows up and helps them out. After that, Kevin, Stuart, and Bob wish to be trained by her. And then there's Otto trying to get back the Zodiac Stone and having his own adventures with a biker. And then Gru's story starts to bond with Wild Knuckles after the goons came in and quit on him after getting beat up by Master Cho. So Gru and Wild Knuckles started bonding even more. They decided to rob the Bank of Evil, and they managed to steal the Mona Lisa painting. And Wild Knuckles found out that his house was destroyed by the Vicious Six. Gru and Wild Knuckles have a conflict and they went their separate ways. So a Chinese New Year's parade is happening in Chinatown. Gru finds Otto. Otto has the stone and are cornered by the Vicious Six, and they manage to take the stone, which turned themselves into animals from the Zodiac Stone, and they kidnap Gru, planning to kill him by tying him to a clock tower to rip him apart. And this is when Kevin, Stuart, and Bob managed to find Gru, but not before they got turned into a rabbit and a rooster and a goat. And then that's when Wild Knuckles shows up, fights the Vicious Six with the minions. And then Wild Knuckles got injured by Bellbottom, who flamed him when trying to take the stone back. Otto managed to save Gru, who uses the stone to turn them into rats. The Vicious Six are arrested, including Knuckles, who is taken to the hospital because of his injuries. So at the next scene, Wild Knuckles' funeral was getting attended by Gru and his minions. Gru gives a heartful speech. But Gru realized that he was still alive. He only just faked his death. So later after that, they go into a car, which they drive off with the minion. If you stayed in for the credit scene, you see Gru trying to hire Dr. Nefario, but Nefario turns down Gru's offer. But after a little bit of begging from Gru and the minions, he accepted the deal. And that's when Nefario gave them a ride on his airship. So yes, it was a bit messy. They couldn't focus on whose story to tell, like Gru and Wild Knuckles trying to build a father figure, or the minions who is trying to save him at the same time trying to learn Kung Fu, and not to mention Otto's side plot. It just felt that they were trying to put two movies into one. If they just focused on one story, it would have been a lot better. But does that make it a bad film? Well, no. The characters are still charming. It's what we expect from the minions and Gru. And not to mention Wild Knuckles was one of my favorites in the movie. Throughout the whole movie was pretty entertaining. I'm pretty sure if you take your family, you're going to enjoy it. And this is why I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And also the animation was pretty good. There is some things that are kind of out of focus, especially with the story. But overall, it's still a good film. And if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next time.